Hi everyone, it's me West Coast Mom, and today I'm going to show you how to make bath bombs. Now this is a great project that you can do. It doesn't require a lot of special equipment or ingredients. They are great to have at home and they make great gifts. Alright, so what I'm going to do today is make a very basic bath bomb. Nothing too fancy. You have to be careful if people have skin sensitivities. So you don't want to, sometimes I don't want to get too fancy with what I put in them. So the basic bath bomb consists of baking soda and citric acid. You can also add cornstarch, but today I'm going to add milk powder because I really like how the milk powder makes my skin feel afterwards. You know, there was a reason why Cleopatra had those milk baths. I'm also going to put in almond oil. Jojoba oil also works as well, and some essential oils. Now I also have some witch hazel, which is going to use to bind it and put it all together. I've transferred my witch hazel into a spray bottle to make it easier. I have a mold. This is a 2-inch sphere mold. This is the size that I like to make. They come in all different sizes. It's up to you. When I make them for gift giving, I like to make them a little bit bigger, but for at home, I like this small size. There are silicone molds out there as well, but I personally find these ones easier. I haven't had much luck with the silicone molds. I have a mixing bowl and I have some gloves because I like to do this by hand and I just find it easier that way. All right, so let's get started. All right, so to my mixing bowl, I'm going to add 1 cup of baking soda and then a half a cup of the citric acid. Now these 2 ingredients are mixed together is what creates the fizz in the bath bombs, and you want 2 to 1. So double the amount of baking soda to 1 part of the citric acid. I'm also going to add a 1/4 cup of milk powder because, as I mentioned, I like that. It's one of my favorite add-ins. Check out my blog for other ideas like ground oats, Epsom salts, Himalayan pink sea salt. There's lots of different things that you could add, but like I said, I try not to get too complicated just because of skin sensitivities. All right, to this I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of almond oil. This helps give it its shape. And it's nice for the skin as well. So there's that. And then I'm going to, for the last thing, is add my essential oils. So I like to use around 10 drops. You could obviously use more if you want. If you want a stronger smell, or if it's too strong, you could always do less. But 10 is a good place to start. All right, so I'm using today both wild orange and eucalyptus. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 7, and then I'll do 3 eucalyptus. I really like these smells in a bath. It's very invigorating and it smells so nice. 1, 2, 3. All right, if a couple extra drops get in there, that's okay. All right, so now we're going to mix this up. I like to put on gloves for this. And what we're going to do is perhaps the trickiest part, which is adding the witch hazel to bind it. All right, so I'm going to mix with my right hand, and in my left hand I have the witch hazel here, and I'm going to spray to moisten it just so that it binds. But first I'm going to mix all these ingredients together. This is perhaps the trickiest part of making the bath bombs because if it's too much liquid, it will become like a soggy, ooey mess. And trust me how I know this, because if you check out my blog, you'll see my first attempt. All right, so I'm just spraying a little bit on the surface and then mixing it through. You want it just wet enough. If it's too wet, you're actually going to start the fizzing, and you don't want that. You want just enough so that when I squeeze it, it sticks together. So it's it's still falling apart. So you just keep a few more squirts. Some recipes have a predetermined amount of witch hazel to put in, but that didn't work for me. I find I have to add it in a little bit at a time, so I can't really tell you exactly how much. So you can see it's beginning to stay, it just fell apart there, so not quite. We're really close. It's actually not that much. You don't want everything in the bowl to be able to stick together. It's not like making cookie dough or anything like that. You just want it so that when I squeeze it in your hand, it does hold. All right, and like I said, it doesn't take very much and it doesn't take very long. And because when you're spraying, you're really just getting the top surface, so you want to be able to mix it all around. All right, so there we go. When I squeeze it, it's holding its shape. It's not falling apart. Now I think we're ready. So there are 2 parts to the mold. We are going to fill each part sort of heaping, and I'm just going to press it down a bit. It's kind of like working with brown sugar. You want to press it a bit. You don't want to really do it too hard, but you want it firm And then you want to fill both sides, because remember when I squeezed it with my hand, it stuck together. So when we squish or smush these two together, it will stick together. All right, so both sides, they're heaping, meaning they're a little bit more than half, and I'm going to squeeze these together. And then what happens is as you smush them together, all the excess oozes out on the seam there. And then when you take it off, there you go, there's your bath bomb. Now I have a muffin tin here lined with wax paper ready to go, and I'm just gonna put it in there so that it can dry. I found that the muffin tin works better because it helps keep the round shape. All right, and then you just fill it up again, same thing, pat it down a little bit to make it firm, but not too much. And then smush them together. Squeeze all the excess out and tidy it up a little bit, and then when you remove the mold, there you go, and it makes the nice round spheres. Now if I wanted to, on the blog I mentioned you can add mica powder that adds color. If you can also add things like dried flowers, sometimes I have lavender, I like to make things like that, but to be honest, it leaves a big mess in the tub, and I'm the one that has to clean it, so I don't usually like to do that for home, but I do like to make them as gifts because they do look prettier. When it comes to the mica powder, just a little bit goes a long way, and it's not cheap either. I only have one color, I have the purple, and but considering I do a lot of lavender because I grow the lavender, the purple comes in handy. Some people put dried flowers in first, so you put a few in this so that when you're mold, so that when you make it and it comes out, it's stuck there on the top and it looks really nice, and it also helps you remember what sort of scent or aroma this is. Now, as I mentioned, these are 2-inch bath bombs. These are the size that I like. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. Obviously, the bigger the bath bomb is, the longer it will last. And the smaller it is, it'll be quicker. Maybe that's good for kids too. So, I'm just gonna, I don't quite have enough for another one, but you can sort of see what I've got. I've made about 5 here, and then what you're going to do is you're going to leave this to dry overnight, and it's just going to dry out. You don't want to handle them too much because they will stick together. Yesterday I made these ones, and you can see that they're dry and they're ready to go. If I put them in this jar before they were ready and they were totally dry out, they'll actually stick together and they'll lose shape a little bit. But there you go. Now these are ready to go. You can have them in the bath. This batch doesn't make that many. It makes about 5 or 6 depending on how full you fill it. I don't like to make too much because I don't have that much space to put everything, and so I do tend to make these every month or so. But there you go. See how easy that was? I'm going to be making another video on making shower steamers, and they're even easier than this, so that'll work out really well. And it's another craft or another sort of project that you can do. All right, so there you go. Thanks for watching. This is how to make bath bombs.